Hi everyone, it's Dave here on this Wednesday evening. I hope you're well. Now we've heard a lot in the last few years, haven't we, about, we need to wake people up and why aren't people waking up quicker? And then we've heard a lot about the Great Awakening, Mass Awakening, all the rest of it. Now I think I've reached the opinion or the conclusion, or certainly where I'm at now, is that there hasn't been a Mass Awakening. So I probably need to define what that is anyway, an awakening. However, this video is more about the parallel society that I firmly believe is now really clear to see, and how kind of one paradigm is falling away, is dissolving away, and another is emerging in its place. And I think a lot of us have one foot in one world and one foot in the other. So today's video, if that makes sense, that's what I'm going to try and talk about. I've not done a video for a while. Two reasons. Number one, I was actually barred again for I don't know how many times, 7 or 8 times now off YouTube. We did a video, a podcast, me and Paul, about excess deaths. Now, if you do want to watch or listen to the podcast, please do. It was a really good one. Hence why it was taken down from YouTube. Too much truth. So if you want to watch or listen to it, please do click the link in the description. Subscribe to the podcast. I usually upload most of the podcasts on here anyway. As I say, it got taken down, but it is on Spotify still, so you can subscribe on there. That was number one. That's the first reason. So I was barred for a week. Also had a bit of a health scare as well. So I actually ended up in hospital Monday. So yeah, I've not been very well. But hopefully I'm on the, in quite a bit of pain. Hopefully I'm on the road to recovery now, so that was the second reason. Anyway, I'm all good, and I thought I'd do a video, try and get back on track. What more interesting angle to try and explore other than this idea, stroke utopia, stroke myth, what is it, about a great awakening? It's nice to imagine, isn't it, that, I guess it's nice to imagine that everyone would be like us. I guess that's what it is, isn't it? In a way, that people would see it all like we do, that people would maybe have similar values to we do, that people would be able to talk like we do and be open-minded like we are. And I do believe that I am, and that my subscribers are as well. I've never liked the term awake, as I've talked about on many occasions. But what is it? And what is it? It's to wake up. What is an awakening? It's about, to my understanding, it's being aware of the real ugly truths that are in our faces. Not obsessing over them and giving our energy to them, but trying to navigate around them and defeat the evil that's at play via doing things like this, having conversations, developing community links, rekindling close personal connections, and building this new world around better values, better individual and societal values. It's definitely not around mindlessly sharing links. And I tell you what, it's definitely also not about, in fact, some of the people most ill-equipped to lead us or to thrive in a new society which is emerging are a lot of the people in the truther community, which again I don't like that, because there's far too much emphasis on focusing on apocalyptic scenarios that are driven by fear, and a real lack of willingness to acknowledge positives, very little creativity, very little genuine interaction, very little genuine and unique takes on things, just the same mindless sharing of information and links and spamming groups and all that. So that concept of the truther community, and also as well, it's a knee-jerk reaction all the time, no matter what happens. Bang, there's a conspiracy behind literally everything. Now, once you go down that route of thinking, you almost give yourself a pass to stop analysing, to stop creating, to stop imagining it, because everything becomes black and white. Everything is a conspiracy. There's no truth in the world. There's no justice in the world. There's no honesty in the world. And fear always wins. Negativity always wins. Lies always win. So in that way, the truther community are just as bad, if not worse, than those who have, probably not worse, no, but nearly as bad, with their weaponization of death and people dying as well. Nearly as bad as the zealots who have acquiesced and got us into this mess. The virtue signalers, the cowards, the ones who just go along to get along. So there's no mass awakening, but this video isn't a negative, it's not a positive either, it's just a neutral video. There's no mass awakening because I don't think we have the requisite level of awareness, probably emotional awareness and emotional intelligence in society, actually, for it to happen on a mass scale. Now, it doesn't need to happen though. This is the thing. And again, this is just my take on our situation as it stands at the moment. There doesn't need to be a mass of people suddenly waking up. I mean, but someone needs to define what it is to wake up anyway. I try to talk about what it is to become more aware, to become more, I don't know, enlightened, to become, I don't know, a torchbearer for freedom and for, I don't know, for human rights. But a mass awakening is just, it's just a nebulous, meaningless term, isn't it, really? And because you know, there's always going to be conflict, there's always going to be tension, there's always going to be competitiveness, there's always going to be clashes in a society. Is a mass awakening too much of a utopian concept? Probably. Do we really want that? I don't know. But what do we want? We certainly do though. We want. Here's what we do want, or here's what I want. The assault on our human rights and our freedoms to be rolled right back, to be defeated. For traditions such as family and patriotism, nationhood, community, maybe religion, to again become an integral part of society, but more so for new ways of thinking and new ideas and new philosophies to emerge from this chaos. That's what I want. And how do we do that? As I've said on a million occasions till I'm blue in the face, I probably bore people with it. It starts with talking. It starts with our being brave enough to express and elucidate ourselves, what we actually think. It doesn't start with or end with going on your phone and sharing links about what Tony Blair said, about what Klaus Schwab's doing, about what Bill Gates is doing, about the latest person who's died in the local community who's in the 20s or 30s. That's not the way to do it. And one of the things that's really pissed me off and continues to is because I don't think, and again, this is just me and my perception, I genuinely don't think that many people understand what really needs to happen to roll back totalitarianism, because that's what we've got. Totalitarianism isn't just gas chambers, people being led to their death, people having a bullet stuck in the back of the head, people being starved to death. It's the end point of totalitarianism. It takes many different forms, And this form that we are experiencing is a completely new one as well, a medical fascism, whatever you want to call it, a pharmacological cartelism, a technocratic tyranny. It's all these things that we're all trying to understand. But I tell you what, that some of the names I just mentioned there, they don't bother me. I don't take them seriously. I just laugh at them. I laugh at them. And do you know why? Because they deserve to be laughed at, number one. But also they've got no power over me. Absolutely no power over me. What's always bothered me more, and I see it at close quarters, is the acquiescing to tyranny and the continuing compliance. And right now, that compliance is mainly in the form of silence of the masses. Our friends, family, neighbours and colleagues. How many times have I said that? And it's common sense. Klaus Schwab can't just go, there we go, we're gonna do a great reset. Pfizer can't just roll out an experimental vaccine program on all of the world like that, and it just happens. It's what people need to understand. It happened because people let it happen, and people let it happen because they weren't engaged in themselves, in their own health, in their own emotions. They weren't engaged in their communities. They weren't engaged with their country's heritage and customs and culture and history. They didn't have enough, in many cases, absolutely no yearning for truth. So used to living in a world of lies, and absolutely no regard for human rights whatsoever, and no awareness of the historical precedent that these things have happened before, i.e. the masses complying to tyranny and people dying in massive numbers. That's our problem. That's what people still don't understand, which is why it pisses me off when 99% of the content I see is around World Economic Forum, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all of the conspiracy stuff, which is true, which is a conspiracy, which they are trying to do, partially successfully, only partially. So there's no mass awakening because a lot of the truther community who think they're awake aren't, right? I'm not awake, as I say, don't like the term. I'm not God, am I? None of us are God. Awake means to know everything. Oh, I'm awake. I can teach you what you need to know. No. So a lot of the truther community are nowhere near enough emotionally intelligent to be part of the solution. All they do is, a lot of them, is just sit behind the screen sharing crap. And I know that. Now, I also know a lot of people who are part of the solution. Amazing people. Some who I already knew and some who I've met. So what is it to be part of the solution? It's to, do you know what it is? Primarily to physically meet up, actually see someone face to face. Number one, see someone face to face. Number two, or if you can't, have genuinely meaningful interactions with people. Listening to concerns, sharing conversation, being there for each other, helping to solve each other's problems. Number three, it's creating something unique, whatever that is, even if that's just a thought and it's an opinion. Tell the world what you think rather than this is what someone else thinks. This is the irony of this always is that I may then say to you to share this, but you don't have to. But what I'm saying is that we should all, if we want to reimagine our societies, we should all be looking to create something. It doesn't have to be a YouTube channel. You don't have to write a book. It doesn't have to be a podcast. You don't have to be writing newspaper articles or letters or sending emails. Although if you are doing those things, that's great. Or anything, create anything. Create anything from scratch. Anything that no one's ever done before. Put your stamp on the world. But creativity is also navigating around the tyranny without submitting to it and contributing to society. That's how you defeat totalitarianism. That's how you defeat totalitarianism. And there are probably are enough people doing it to create, for us to eventually have the psychopathic technocrats back off from our lives. But most in the truther community aren't in that category. So there's a lot who aren't, but enough who are, who truly understand what it is that needs to happen. Create, I always say create, don't regurgitate. Create, don't regurgitate. Meet up. Create something unique. Yeah, meet up, connect. Tackle problems with a positive mindset. Actively look for solutions. Build any kind of initiatives that you can. Be active in the community. It's pretty simple, really. But I think a lot of people are still hiding behind screens, pretending they're doing something and they're not really. And that's just the brutal truth of it. So the mass awakening from the truther community hasn't really materialised, but there's a small percentage of amazing people who have successfully managed to shift the energy and bring to bear a clash of different psyches now, and eras and epochs and paradigms. We are at the juxtaposition point now of all of those things, which is why many of us, I've got one foot in the, what do you want to call it, the normie world, and I've got one foot in this other world which we're all trying to understand. And the reason why we're at this point now, why things have accelerated so fast, two reasons. Number one is because what the totalitarians have done and instructed those below them to impose on the next level below them, on the next level below them, on the next level below them, to the point where people who you know, who will be police, doctors, nurses, teachers, civil service, people who you know will have done awful things or stayed silent on awful things. So those people have enabled this because they've obeyed orders from the psychopaths above, which has brought us to the point of unprecedented threat and on the cusp of a dystopian, eternal dystopian hell. But what's also happened is that there's been enough of us who have understood those things I said before, and have just absolutely relentlessly said, not only said no, we will not comply, not only have shared the information at the beginning of this with people about what was happening, spoken up and been brave and spoken up, but also started to build this new society. They're the two reasons. You've got the psychopaths and their underlings and their sycophants and their cowardly followers who are trying to lead us into the dystopian, into the dystopian medical tyranny, and you've got the group of people in every country around the world who are the antidote to that, and who not only have ensured that what the psychopaths are trying to do has only been partially successful, has actually mostly failed so far, but are also building something completely different. None of us understand where we're going, we just know that we're trying to do something good. And the other reason the mass awakening isn't happening is because of, and I'm not bothered now that it's not, because I've kind of come into the conclusion that, well, why does it have to? You know what I mean? Why does it have to? But the other reason it's not is because those underlings, those subordinates, those ordinary nice men and women who I talk about all the time, who've enabled this by complying and in some cases encouraging and now staying silent, the mass awakening, it will not happen because they now know that what we said was right. They know they've messed up, they've been fooled. They know that in many cases they've harmed themselves, in many cases their children. They know that they've harmed other people. They know they've believed them a malevolent lie. They know it all now. Well, if they don't know it all, then they know enough. And they're even more, the refusal to engage is even more pronounced now. Not in spite of that, but because of that, than it was when this all-pervading lie had people in its grip. Because this lie doesn't have people in its grip anymore. Not many. Only the most deeply conditioned and programmed people still don't understand that there's something really badly going wrong in the world. So people do know. And the mass awakening that a lot of people say is going to happen will not happen. And it's not happening because these people simply, they care not, they care nothing for, they don't care that their lives are a lie. They don't care. They don't care that they are living like slaves to a system, slaves to the boss, slaves to time. They don't care that they're being taxed up to their eyeballs. They don't care that they're being having a piss taken out of them for everything, you know, from energy costs to price rises to taxes to absolutely everything. They don't care about the fundamental attack on their and their children's human rights. They clearly don't care about the rights of their children to have a life and a future free of tyranny, and one where they have all of their most fundamental human rights intact. They don't care about that. They don't care about truth. They've got their life templates and they're sticking to it. They've got their money coming in. They've still got the conveniences and comforts, even though a lot of them are complaining now about prices going up and life's becoming a little bit more difficult for them. Well, you know, you made your bed, so lie in it. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. Loads of things have changed. Things have changed. Things in the ether have changed. The energy's changed. Our realities have changed. The way we see things changed. The way what we're feeling in here has changed. There's been fundamental shifts in all of that. But in many ways, you have a look. Just consider how many people who are part of what I call the government apparatus, who are the ones who've enabled all of this, working in league with private, you know, predatory cartels, medical cartels. They're all still in position, from the politicians right the way down to the scientists, right the way down to your average Joe, your average Jane, doctors, nurse, police, teacher, I'll say civil servants, and you got all your journalists, MPs. Expect your politicians to be corrupt. Expect the scientists who are bought and paid for to be corrupt. Expect the media bought and paid for to be corrupt. Expect that. But don't forget, as corrupt as them will be those people you know, morally corrupt. And that doesn't mean I'm falling out with people. It doesn't mean I'm moving from anger now to just trying to understand things better, understand human nature better, understand that I'm living in a world where most people either just don't care about all the things I've talked about, or they're aware of them but just aren't brave enough. So that's where we are. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's been studies done about kind of revolutions and societies falling and rising again, and there's only ever a minority of people that are the strong-willed ones who have the courage and who have the energy and who have, crucially, the fresh ideas, and everyone else sweeps up behind them. And the zeitgeist of the times changes then, and the ideology of the time might change, the prevailing narratives change, and all this kind of thing. Now, things like meta-narratives and ideologies, I don't like all that. So I hope that one meta-narrative and one ideology isn't replaced by another. But what I'm saying is that there are enough people in this world who understand what I'm saying in this video, and who are building this parallel society. One where many of us are still doing the 9 to 5. We've still got the same, some of us living in the same area. A lot of our lives are still the same and seeing the same people. But other things have changed massively. I know my life has. And it's been, I was going to say, I don't even know how to describe how traumatic at times it's been. But in my heart, I know that's not always going to be the way. You know, because it can't, because that just doesn't make sense, does it? The pendulum will swing back. So, I guess what I'm saying with this is, it doesn't matter. We don't need this mass awakening. I don't think we need it. I think that there's the powers that be and you know, those organisations who've coordinated this attack on all of us, they know what they're up against. They know they've got the majority who will just carry on sleepwalking through their lives who are slaves to them. You know, basically don't have the self-respect to rise up. But it's not, that's not 95% of people like that. It's probably, I don't know, 80%. It's probably 15 to 20% of people who are like, nah. That's millions of people, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people across the world. And they're the people as well who bring so much more to their societies, I mean, exponentially. So it's not just, even though we are much smaller in number, we're bigger in spirit and intellect and ideas. So I'm starting to think now, let's get away from this idea of the Great Awakening. You know, just as the Great Reset is, I think ultimately is going to fail, but there's bits and pieces of it in place already, and there's bits and pieces of it that they're really trying to get in place. But I think it's not, their vision of the Great Reset isn't going to come to pass. Well, our vision of the Great Awakening isn't going to come to pass. So I think we just need to think on different trajectories, think on different terms, think in different ways. Whose idea was this Great Awakening? Why did we all buy into it? What did it ever mean? You know, what did that mean? So parallel society, yes. We are a minority, yes. But the systems that are governed by these psychopathic entities and that are staffed by these sometimes moronic, sometimes sycophantic, sometimes psychopathic, mostly cowardly, often naive individuals, those systems will just, in the end, and often sooner or later, will just collapse because they're unsustainable. Because this society is unsustainable in so many different ways. Which is why when I step out the door, I see societal collapse all around me, but I'm not scared by it. I'm not. In fact, I see it now as more of an honour to live in these times where, well, I can make more of a difference in this era now than in any other era, as we stand at the inflection point between two fundamentally different ages. And it's about who's going to try and understand where we've come from easier, where we're going harder, where we are right now. Very, very difficult. But these systems and these organisations are just going to dissolve, and people's sense of reality is dissolving. It's just some are going like that, some are pretending everything's okay. I've talked all about that, but some of us are just going, do you know what? Bring it on. So forget about the Great Awakening. Who wants that? Who wants that? I don't want to be awake. I don't like it. I don't like awake. I want to remain ignorant. I want to remain a fool. That's what I want to be. I want to be an ignorant fool, because then I'll keep asking questions, and then at least I'll be able to keep doing these videos then, because as Einstein said, the questions are more important than the answers. And people are talking about answers. We don't even know what the questions are at the moment. Our age is that confused. We don't even know what the questions are, so we need to just keep talking. Anyway, share this video with anybody who you think that might gain some benefit from it. I really appreciate all your support. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and if you don't mind hitting the notification bell as well, if you've not already done that. And of course, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your comments about what I've said in this half-an-hour video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.